How y'all doing today, man? We on Uncut Live TV, and we got the interviewer. I'm Black Goo. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
What's up, guys? My name is Percy Edmonds, man. King Jabez. You can catch me on TikTok, YouTube, IG. Good to be here today.
Would you let the people know where area you from?
I'm from Chicago, Illinois, and so I was raised in from the city, Maywood and Bellwood, which is really close to Chicago. It's the suburbs, but it's basically Chicago, to be honest. So I was raised out there in Maywood and Bellwood, and I moved out west when I was a teenager in high school. And so I've been out west basically from high school to adulthood. And so, yeah, west side Chicago, Placer Road to be exact, for those who are familiar.
Okay, so how long have you been actually doing and creating content on TikTok? I seen a couple of your videos before I even got a chance to get to know you. So
Yeah, for
you
sure.
are TikTok famous, and you are famous on virtual TV and stuff like that. I mean, not virtual, but online.
I
So
got
what made you want to start doing that?
you. That's a good question. The reason I laugh, man, everybody asks me that question, man. What made you want and to be honest, man, without giving too much of my history, I did public speaking for years before I got online. So I got online, December, it'd be 5 years I've been online. And so I started off on YouTube. Iron and Soul is my YouTube channel. And the TikTok took off, the IG took off, and YouTube is doing well as well. And so I have been doing public speaking for many years, and the online platform gave me a space to do, kind of have more freedom.
So that made you. Yeah, sorry about that. It's the
That's
service
cool.
one. So,
No, that's cool.
as far as like you getting into doing that stuff, let me ask you a question. You said you're from Chicago.
hmm
How is it out there in Chicago?
Man, I see the online intrigue with the city from various cities, down in the South in Florida. You kind of see a lot of the Chicago culture spreading to different cities. You know what I mean? So I think the intrigue in my opinion, Chicago's almost like a experiment. The stuff that happens there, all the factors to create the ghetto. People focus, not saying you, but in general speaking, what I see online, so many people focus on the results versus how we got here. So what I mean by that is the people see, Chief Keef, they see Lil Reese, they see Lil Durk, they see the drill scene, and a lot of people gravitate to it because for one, these are young black men, so people are intrigued and man, what is it like to live here? It's interesting to people. Is it really that bad? And the truth is, yes and no. To be honest, Chicago's been this way for a long time. Even to be honest, I'm a little older. I haven't been in the streets since 2002. That's when I got out the streets a long time ago. But in 2002, the murder rate was worse then than it was in 2012. So from my perspective, brother, as an older guy, Chicago's been this way, and it's for so many reasons. The concentrated poverty. If we talked about gentrification, if we could break down to housing discrimination, limited resources. The poorly funded schools. These are all the factors that create the ghetto, and no one talks about that. We talk about the results because the results are so devastating. And it's sensationalized in news often too. So, I could talk a lot about the city, obviously there's a lot of good too. There's a lot of good stories in Chicago, a lot of young men and women who you never hear about, who are straight A students, honor roll students who you never hear about. So it kind of goes both ways. So I don't want to paint the picture that is just what we see on television through the music, through the culture, entertainment. There is a lot of reality to that, but at the same time, most people in the city are just trying to live their lives. You think about, for example, just the average, I'll give you this example, average block. Let's say where I lived out west, I lived on Vanbury and Springfield, Pulaski Road. It was a very heavily gang populated, block, basically. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say, if you have, for example, if you got 40 people who live on this block, you might only have 5 or 10 who are actually involved in gangs. And people forget about the vast majority of the community who's not involved. That's the truth of the matter. Most people over there are your grandmas, your grandfathers, your mamas, your uncles, the little kids, people in the community trying to survive. People like myself, just about 5, 6 years ago, just working a job downtown Chicago, surviving, trying to survive. And so most of the people over there are not really involved in what's going on. Sometimes you can get this picture that you come to Chicago and there's 80 people outside on that. You know what I mean? And that's not true. Most people just living their lives trying to survive, working, doing what they got to do to survive, make it each day. You know what I mean? So that's just a little bit I can say. I can say so much more, but that's a little bit.
So you said in 2002.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the year 2002. How old were you?
2002, 19.
You were 19 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically you was a young adolescent in the age of 2002. How old are you right now?
41.
You're 41. So okay, I got you by 2 years. So that means I was 21. That's around the time when I started the transition too, right?
Okay.
So 2002, you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
You done did some stuff coming up. You were a bad kid. What hit you that made you go right instead of keep going left?
Well, that's a good question. I think, for me personally, I did what every young man should do. Whether you're in the streets or not, whether you're in the streets, whether you're in the military, you're in the workforce, not even a young man, every man, to be honest, you look at your life and you see where you're going to be at 4 or 5 years from now if I keep doing this. So I looked at my life at 19 and I realized my future was not bright at all. This is not working. This is laying me to a cycle of defeat. I kind of saw it right on the wall. So I saw at 19 that what I'm doing. Go ahead.
Was it a voice? Was it a voice that you heard, or you just knew at that age, or from some intuition, like, man, I'm 19, and you sitting there like this, or was somebody that could have been like a leader or a mentor that told you, that unlocked something in you and got your brain to start really working like that, like, or was it just all you?
It's actually multiple factors, to be honest. It was God. I'll say that. It was my upbringing, looking at my environment, the way the Most High has made me. So, I'm a type of person, I've always been very observant. I always asked a lot of questions, even as a boy, and so I asked a lot of questions. I observed my environment and I can make assessments. And I kind of assess, okay, this is where I'm going if I continue to do this. One layer of that. Another layer of that, iron sharpens iron, men build men. So I wasn't the guy who didn't have men in my life. I had a grandfather. I had uncles. I had other people in the family, older cousins. So I had a lot of conversations with them in my family growing up. So it wasn't like, I think sometimes when people think about the streets, you assume that these are all guys who didn't have a father. In their family who showed them the way, but I wouldn't say you become a product of your environment. The energy is there as a young man, and you can decide to get involved. It's just that simple. So it wasn't like I became a product of my environment, because honestly, the truth is, I could have made different decisions as a teenager. I understand that. I consciously chose that. This was a path that I gravitated to, like so many men all across the country, not just Chicago, in Baltimore, over in LA. The gang culture is a nationwide thing with young men. So gravitating to that, and I will say getting heavily involved. Without going into too many details, I'm the type of person, I'm 10 toes in whatever I do. So I was involved. And when I saw, and the level I was at is only could get worse. It's kind of like levels to every industry. And in the streets, there were levels. And I knew where I was at in the streets. If I would have continued, nothing but bad. And so I saw it right in the wall. I saw, okay, if I keep doing this, this is going to lead to a long prison sentence or being unalived.
At the age of 19, did you have any children?
No, fortunately, I didn't. I did not have any.
So it wasn't like see what we could, because we're black men, we talking. What changed me was I had a daughter, actually.
Gotcha.
So when I seen my daughter come out, that's when I wanted to do different things and was like, nah, this ain't the way, right?
For sure.
But far as like with you, because we focusing on you today, have you ever did any juvenile jail time?
Oh yeah, definitely. I went to juvenile when I was 16.
How
So
long did you stay?
juvenile wasn't there alone. I was what was called an AT case, automatic transfer. So when I was 16, I was involved in the streets. I went to the Audi home, and you know, take it back a year, show you how the streets work, and an insight into these young men's psychology. 'Cause I look at them even now. A lot of these young men are very intelligent that we see out there in the streets. Because I was at 15, I was an honor roll student in high school, and at 16, I was involved in the streets. So sometimes it's this idea, notion that these are just these unintelligent young men. A lot of these guys are smart, right? And they get involved in the lifestyle um, for a number of reasons. So at 16, I was there for a couple of months, and at 17, I was transferred to 26 California County Jail.
So they shipped you from Chicago to California.
No, 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 no. California, 26 California is that's the location in Chicago for the county jail.
That's another.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
26
okay.
California. If you say 26 California, everybody in Chicago knows what you're talking about.
Man, 26 California sound like that's a dangerous, something dangerous right
It
there,
is,
man.
brother. It's probably one of the worst. It's probably one of the worst jails in the country. Be my guess.
And that's
One
a
of the worst.
juvenile.
I was 17. 17.
17 years old.
Yeah.
So okay, now where is that? Where see what I'm trying to figure out is from when you were young to 18, what were you going through to make that change? And you seeing what you where you was actually going through. So now let me ask you this:
For sure.
while you were young, did you have the need to carry a gun?
Say it again.
When you were younger, did you carry a gun or had the need to carry a gun?
Um, I wouldn't answer that question publicly. I mean, that's something I wouldn't say, but that's. I guess I'll answer it this way. Why do people feel that way now in Chicago? I guess I'll say this: self-defense. If you are involved, the city is that bad. If you're not involved, that's one thing. But even if you aren't, depending on where you live at in Chicago and what you're involved in, a lot of them have that for self-defense. Most of the shootings are it could be retaliation, self-defense. It's not like people are walking around Chicago just I'm gonna shoot somebody today. You might have a few people who are like that, who have the type of mindset, but the vast majority of them have it for self-defense.
So you most of the deaths in Chicago, they wasn't off for like just a simple beef. They were planned out murders and stuff like that.
No,
Like they,
I think a lot of times it's very complicated. It's not simple. Every situation is different. Some cases may be just a beef. A guy didn't like one other person. And what happens often with that, it can turn to retaliation and never stops. So let's say, for example, if you have some people, I'm just throwing something out there, who are on 65th, and somebody from 63rd shoots someone on 65th, right? That person's block retaliates, and they retaliate against that block, and it continues to go on and on and on. And so that's why there's a saying in the streets: there is no shootings, there's no murders without murders. In other words, a lot of times what happens is retaliation. So,
oh,
however it starts, whether that was over money, whether that was over a girl, whether that was over territory, it could be a number of reasons why. Once that line is crossed, the way a lot of them think is to a point of no return. Now, I got to do something to avenge my friend. And that keeps the cycle going.
okay. I see that. All right, I asked you one question, so it's like I know I can't get too deep with you on some of the questions that I'm asking you. You're not going to give me the information that I want. But one of the informations I wanted to know was, did you ever have to physically hurt somebody before growing up?
Did I ever have to physically? What do you mean?
Like out of anger?
You referring to like a fist fight, or what are we talking about?
Well, like somebody that played with you, and because you don't seem like you were like angry as a adolescent, like you could have just got caught up and made some bad decisions. You know how you have some people that
Right.
really changed their life because they were really angry motherfuckers, and then they
Mm-hmm.
just
Right.
type of way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it what I'm well, you could correct me if I'm wrong because I don't like
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
accept.
yeah. Yeah.
But it just felt like, you was one of those type of people that don't play with me type. You wasn't going out there looking for the trouble. It would be more like if you played with me, then you would retaliate. So did people like actually pick on you, or you was one of those so self-confident person everybody knew you and they didn't want to play with you?
Okay, you went in and out for a second. Can you repeat that question? You,
Yeah,
you kind of went in and
me,
out for a second. Yeah.
okay. Basically, like what I'm asking you is like, were you one of those people that had a name? Like you wasn't one of the people that you really wanted to play with, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, for sure. That's a good question, man. I think, to be honest, me personally, when I was, because I got to go back 20 years now. So you look at me now as a 41-year-old mature man who's been studying, he's been to school, who got kids, family. You go back 20 years ago, I was the type of person. I'll be honest about. I think about this. The street person. I was the person you wanted on your team, meaning I was likable. I was diplomatic. I can go after a few weeks, everybody would like me. So I was very likable. I always had the characteristic of being able to go somewhere because I have personality. So even as a youth, when I was 17, 18, I would crack jokes. I was able to hang out. But if somebody brought some drama, I was standing 10 toes down. So I had that type of combination that people liked, even the older guys on the block. Okay, he's cool, but if somebody brings the energy, he's going to retaliate.
He's gonna
So I guess
retaliate.
that's the best way to express it. I wasn't an individual looking for drama, but if you brought it, I'm gonna defend my tribe.
You're gonna defend yourself. That's the kind of like person that I can actually see you are. You were like cool, but don't play with us over here.
Right. That's you read me, man. That was it. That was me
Yeah,
in 1920. I was cool among
that's
the
what I
guys.
was
We over here
like.
kicking it, cracking jokes, talking to the girls. Ain't on that with you, but if you bring that, we on that with you.
We
Because
on it,
in my mind, I'm not even on that. But since you're gonna bring that to me, let's go.
on it, right? So it's like,
Yeah,
all right, you're growing up in Chicago. All right, you're 19 years old.
yeah,
You say, you know what? I don't want to do this lifestyle no more.
yeah.
What was the light that came in that made you start walking to that light? What was that light did you see that you was like, you know what? I'm in a tunnel and I see the light at the end of the tunnel. What was that light that you saw?
Facts. Okay. So I'm
That's
gonna be honest with you.
see, see, see.
What's
I,
up?
I see. See, I'm one of them type of. You went like this, like dang,
Yeah,
he hit that shit on the number, like
yeah,
with me. And this will be off the record. I ask you something off the record.
yeah, yeah.
I'm in the tunnel, right?
Right,
And I know right there is all these bad things, but I know in this tunnel I gotta keep straight, and I know they trying to bring it down, but I
right.
know what I saw with that light, and I would call it not a mission, but what was the cartouche you saw at the light? What was that picture that you say, you know what, I'm gonna go through this tunnel no matter what, because I'm trying to touch this picture? What was that picture you saw?
Well, I'll say this. For me personally, at that time, and it wasn't like it was just one experience. It was a number of times. I think the Most High can get your attention through a number of channels. You draw. So one of those channels was dreams and visions. Another channel was previous conversations I have with people. Um, I would say this. Larry Hoover said this about prison. Larry Hoover said that prison will make you do one of two things. It will harden you or make you think. And so the first time I went, I came home, it hardened me. My grandma said, "Grandson, you graduated. She called me super thug. A young thug in Atlanta. She called me super thug. She said, grandson, you graduated. You really," and that wasn't a compliment. She's saying basically, you are really out here now. You draw. And so the first time it hardened me and made me have this anger towards humanity. Second time, I did exactly what Larry Hoover said. I began to think. And so I began to think about what is my future? Where am I going with this? Do I want to be 25 and 30 years old and people call me Papa Lord? I don't want that. You got guys that getting called Papa G, Papa Hop.
Papa Lord was your name, your nickname?
No, 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 no. That's what they call the old. This is what the guys call the older game members. They
Oh,
call
Papa
like,
Lord,
let's say if
Chicago.
he's a G, they call him Papa G, and if he's a Lord, it's Papa Lord. And so I started thinking, do I want someone to call me that 10 years from now?
Right.
And I
Keep
said to
talking.
myself,
Keep
no, I
talking.
don't want that. So I began to think about my future, and where I was going if I would continue on that path. And so I dropped everything at that point.
Right.
So the ton of honest, and then, to be honest, God, I started reading the Bible, and it just transformed my life. Started praying, started fasting right away, reading like crazy. Read a lot of books, autobiography of Malcolm X, Up from Slavery, Booker T. Washington. So I began to feed my mind. And it's hard to keep someone in bondage who frees their mind through learning and thinking.
Right. Right. Let me ask you something. The you right now, right? Because I do things, I ask questions in a certain way.
I
The
can't
you
see.
right,
You went out. Your screen went blank.
yeah, it is the service. It comes in and out. The you
Okay,
right
gotcha.
now, right? The you right now, at the age of how old? You're what, 41? You said.
Yeah.
What would you tell your 19-year-old self?
That's a good question. That's a question that I've thought about a lot because I feel like I'm gonna be answering this question a lot in the future. So, what would I say to myself, but not on a bigger scale? What would I say to a young man in that situation? And that's a good question, man. I mean, what would I say to a 19-year-old young man in Chicago? What would I say to a
No,
17,
not
18?
not a regular 1917. You.
Yeah. But I'm
What would
saying
you
what I'm right. What I'm referencing right now, I'm referencing the street culture because it's about me,
say?
right?
Okay.
But it's really bigger than that. It's about people who are 19 in Chicago, people who are 19 in Baltimore, where you're at right now, people who are 19 in LA. This continues. So what would I say now? Because that's what makes the question relevant. Because when you ask me what would I say to myself, you're essentially saying what would I say to a 19-year-old now who's doing that? Because we got guys all over the country in LA, Baltimore, down in the South, Chicago, New York City, you name it, Canada, the UK. There are young men all over the country who are in that trap. That's what it is. That's why we call it the trap. And the truth is, there is no one layer to that. There are a number of layers. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think we ask that question, it's not so much what I would say to myself, but it's also what advice to give these young men. Like, for example, when I was in Chicago, I told you I lived there. I lived in Chicago as a teenager when I was active in the streets because God gave me this opportunity. And then I moved back as a man working a job, driving to downtown Chicago every day. So I got a chance to see the ghetto as a person who was involved, heavily involved, and then to come out of that, move out the city, come back 10 years later at 28, and now I'm a man now working downtown Chicago, seeing the same stuff. And I would talk to these guys, and I would have conversations with them. In fact, I had one guy, I asked him, I said, man, why don't you work at Walmart, man? He said, oh, man, OG, I can't do that. And I said, why not, man? It's better than this. You over here, man, dodging bullets every day. And so trying to get them to see that there's other ways to make money. Because at the end of the day, it's not rocket science why they're out there. They're out there because they're trying to escape poverty. That's why they're out there. I mean,
So
listen
you
to the
got
rap music. All the rappers, I want to say this, all the rappers say the same thing. 50 Cent, get rich or die trying. NBA Youngboy, never broke again. Chief Keef's first album, Finally Rich. They're all saying the same thing. I'm trying to get this stench off of me of being broke.
so you're basically saying you had to break the fucking chain that was trying to hold you back in these projects. I overheard you say this was projects. 2 blocks up. Damn, 2 blocks up. If I look right here and I look over my city, I got 2 blocks. I can walk right there.
Okay.
I want to opt that close to where I live.
Right. Exactly. Right.
That person that lived 2 blocks in this radius, I'm on a rooftop right now, right?
Gotcha.
So if I'm looking 2 blocks from where I am right now,
Mm-hmm.
all this little radius is people that I will possibly know, right? Because I
Yeah.
got a 2 block radius, right?
Right.
That means those kids out in Chicago can't even walk up and down in their neighborhood. Because 2 blocks from where you
Right.
live at is still your neighborhood.
Okay.
So you're telling me in Chicago, each block is a neighborhood?
Well, again, yeah, if you're over there in the city, we call it a 4 block radius. You got you got an area where you feel safe. That is the reality of those involved in the culture. That's not for every person who lives in Chicago, but if you are involved, that tends to be reality. Which
Interesting.
obviously what does that breed? Hopelessness, panic. If you are basically in this box and you're wondering when is someone going to shoot at me, when is this going to happen? This is the condition these guys are living in. But take a step further. I think something people don't ask, and I'm saying you're not asking this, but something that people should ask: how does so many kids, which a lot of them are 15, 16, 17 years old, how does so many kids get such access to so many weapons? First question: how did they get there? And secondly, and I know the answer to that. I won't answer it on camera, but you know the answer. I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
And also, how did the drugs go away? You see what I'm saying? So these are questions that we know the answer to. But if someone speaks on it, the conversation is silent. So again, this has been my experience whenever we talk about this, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but the conversation is focused on what the young man does. I think we need to do is hold the whole community accountable. Those young men don't just wake up one day at 17 and now I'm going to start I'm out here on the block. Mama needs to be held accountable. Daddy needs to be held accountable. The community needs to be held accountable. The school system. There are so many people that let that young man down. And of course, every situation is different, but generally speaking, for him to get to this point, young white men, 14, 15, 16 years old, are not on the corner to get some shoes. So I think the question is, how do we help our entire community do better? And that's going to require a lot of resources and a lot of difficult questions we got to answer to get there. In other words, what do people my age and others do to give these young men an opportunity? Because it's one thing for me to go over there now and just have a conversation. That could be helpful. If I go over there and talk to them, give them some free game, they appreciate that. Okay, OG, thanks for sharing that with me. But what really helped them, I come over there and say, hey, little bro, I got something for you to do to make some legal money. Then you got their attention. Well, I can actually help them escape that the right way. Not saying give them
Because
a handout.
they're already trying to find a way to try to get rich anywhere. That's most young black adolescents desires and goals is
Okay.
to try to, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like those are the ones that are positive and have some type of sense of intelligence. But
Mm-hmm.
what about the ones that don't have that sense of intelligence?
They need mentorship. If a person is lacking guidance, they need a mentor. You're not gonna come out of that type of environment without any type of guidance. I had a lot of structure. Once I left that environment, I got around the right people, and I had mentors, I had counselors, I had older men speaking to my life. So it wasn't like I just figured it out. That's not what happened. I made the decisions to change, and once I did that, I got around people who helped me do that. You see what I'm saying? So there were a number of men who helped me to go in the right direction. Obviously, I had to be willing to learn, to be teachable, and that's been a strength of mine, being able to learn and to receive correction, receive instruction from other men. And some of our young men are not ready for that yet. They've never had that. So if they've been listening to their mother's voice their whole life, they may struggle to receive correction from a guy like me. Who was this
It,
guy that told me what to do?
it,
So
it,
some
would-
of
it,
us, not all, some of them may struggle with
they
receipt.
wouldn't understand your lingo. They wouldn't understand your lingo.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
this and I had a big conversation with some folks that's a high authority in Washington like 3 days ago about if you think you're a professional because you went to school to be a counselor,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't go through that lifestyle. That doesn't fucking make you a professional because you have it on paper. Excuse my French, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because how the people in high authorities try to explain it was like, oh, I have a degree in this and that,
Right.
but you didn't live it.
Mm-hmm.
So, because you got a degree in something because somebody taught you something,
Right.
but you didn't live it, you can never feel it. So there's no way that you could really adapt to somebody that's
Right.
telling what's really going on because you never really felt that energy,
Right.
right? So after I broke it down and they saw it to the light, and I always say this one thing about people, they try to keep what's intelligent under intelligent because when
Say it again. They
they
try to do what now?
they try to keep what's intelligent under intelligence.
Okay.
They don't want you to seem more intelligent than them, right? Because
Facts. Facts. Yeah, a lot of it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so you got three. So I got three people in the room, but after the meeting was done, somebody walked up to me, which gave me another opportunity,
Right.
and said, "Man, you're bold, man. You understand what I'm telling you? Just because I told that person, because you got a degree, that doesn't make you a professional."
Mm-hmm. Well, you
You
might
know,
be professional. That doesn't mean it's going to be effective. I get it. Yeah.
so
Doesn't mean it's going to be effective.
it doesn't make an effect because you got to remember. I always feel like people who've been through stuff that say, they look at themselves and say, like how you said, man, where I'm gonna be in the next couple of years from now.
Right. Right. But you're doing this. Right.
Those are the ones that needs to go out there and get the degrees and really start going out and pushing out into the community.
Right.
So my next question was gonna ask you, you got the knowledge and you've been through it, right?
Right.
Because you was one of those teenagers.
Right. 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 For
Off the
sure. For
record,
sure.
I ask you, which you don't have to answer one question. I get it because I know we're there already, right? So,
Right.
what are you doing, right, Jabez, to help that kid in that city? What have you really done to try to want to help that city? Did you start a mentorship? Are you going into the neighborhoods? Because I seen something happen in the Washington the other day where a guy, they claim he had a gun on his lap and he was sleeping
Right.
in the right. Hey, it
Mm-hmm.
probably broke national. So I'm saying to myself, damn, everybody's angry, and the
Okay.
whole city was angry,
Right.
and I get it. But then it's how could you say that word? It's like a cliche because damn, if I leave my gun at home, I might could be a target today.
Right.
But I don't want to walk with my gun because I don't want to really hurt nobody. But if I
Mm-hmm.
leave my home, somebody could kill me, right?
Right.
But
Right.
this is a situation. It was the police, so you got everybody uproar in the city. But the fact is, was he slipping? Why would you fall asleep with a gun on your lap in a public street area,
Okay.
right? What wrong move did he make for the police to shoot him? We would never know, right? But why would you slip like that? Let's talk about the ones that slip with the guns. Like it was even like a something in Baltimore too. I saw it was a young man running, and the police shot him. Right? Then they tried to justify the case because people would look at you and try to justify themselves because they looking at you. Right?
Right.
They
Right.
say, "Oh, they shot him because he had a gun on him."
Mm-hmm.
Y'all only shot him because you killed him. If he would have got away, would y'all even knew he had a gun on him to put
Mm-hmm.
that in here? If he was running, what does that tell you? He was what?
We're trying to wait. Yeah, I got you. Yeah,
Trying to
follow.
get away.
Yeah, yeah.
You understand my
Yeah,
logics.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So why did they shoot him?
Well, I think we kind of both know the answer to that question. And we got a saying in Chicago, what's understood don't need to be explained.
So
We know what happened.
so let me ask you this question.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Was it because the young man didn't have the knowledge?
You mean is your question this happened because he didn't have knowledge?
Yeah, because while he was trying to run away,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah,
think?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now,
yeah.
listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because while he was running, do you think that his day would have got ended by police actually shooting him because he was trying to run to get away?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know the story, and when did this happen?
It happened about like a month ago, like a month and a half, almost now. Like a month,
You paused for. Say it again.
like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, 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 yeah. What's the young man's name?
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Let's see if we could get it in the
Yeah,
chat.
yeah, it don't matter. I guess my thing is also say first and foremost, condolences to his family and friends. His family and friends who hear this. Um, you know, to answer your question, my opinion is we can go down the list now. Was Trayvon prepared for that? Was I mean, so many. Garner out in New York City. Even in Chicago was so many. I don't think any of them, or even me, even you for that matter, are prepared at that age for the energy that comes our way as young black men. It reminds me of something Tupac Shakur said. He said in one of his speeches, I wish somebody would have told me, Tupac, when you get out there, they're going to be on you. So I feel like we have to, and I say we, meaning you and me, all of us, we have to, as community, we have to do a better job of warning our young men of some of the harsh realities going to come their way. And some of us don't want to have a conversation because it's a very difficult and uncomfortable conversation. So I think there should be conversation about that. How to carry yourself when that happens. What do you do? You know what I mean? I got an uncle who worked on the police force in Mississippi for 20 years. And so I asked him flat out, okay, if I get pulled over, how do I respond in a way where I can be safe? And he broke it down for me. You know what I mean? And so, I think
Talking,
we
my
got
bad. Talking.
I think we got to ask the type of questions. We got to have these type of conversations with our young men, to be prepared for the energy coming their way, because it's impossible to prepare them for all of that. That's what I would say to that. So I don't think it's just a lack of knowledge. I think that would have helped. But, the better question would be, what do we do to help them not be in a situation in the first place? That's where I'm at in my mind right now. In other words, how do we provide alternatives so they don't feel like they even have to do this to survive? So.
What's some of this? What's some of the good programs that y'all got out there in the city that could help kids?
Yeah. One of the programs in Chicago is a place called Safer Foundation, where they help men and women who've been in prison find a job. That's been helpful. Um, there's a church on the west side of Chicago that has a big youth ministry. They're helping a lot of the teenagers in the community. They have services for them, healthcare. I can't call it Longdale Christian Center over on the west side of Chicago. You have a shelter in downtown Chicago that has several hundred people there every day. And so there's a number of facilities in the city that can provide some help. But the problem obviously exceeds those places of help. It's helpful. I can't minimize their efforts, what they do, but it's one of the things where the issue is the nature of the community and the issues we have are so complex. No one organization or institution can solve it. So we can't put it all, because as soon as you look at this, right, the question is, okay, when you see someone doing this, we're looking for somebody to blame. So we look, okay, it's the government did this, or it's because his father wasn't there, or it's the church, or it's the institution. And the truth is everybody. It's a saying for a reason. It takes a village to raise a child. So it's going to take everybody to help these young men. People like yourself, people like me, the church, institutions, school programs, counseling. It's going to take a lot of people to help get them in the right direction. And I would say, honestly, a place they can go that's safe. I would have never changed living on the west side. I had to leave and live somewhere else for years. I would have never changed living out west. I'd have been right back involved. So the situation is so bad, the ones who want to leave got to actually leave and go somewhere else to restart their life. And it's unfortunate that it's that bad. But that's where it's at right now.
Right.
So some of them may have to find another state, another city, somewhere. You know what I mean? In my case, it was moving to the suburbs for a while, just to kind of get my mind right and figure out who I am.
Right. It looked like you be lifting like 415 pounds.
No, man.
Hell, bro, how many would you lift? 415? Like,
No, man. I keep myself in shape, man. I just it's I think your health is wealth. I do it to keep myself healthy. You know what I mean? It's something I've been doing since I was younger. 16, 17, I've been doing that.
so, are you like a personal trainer or something out there?
Mm-mm. No, actually, I've never done that. Um, I train like it almost to a certain extent, but I don't have a desire to be honest with you. It's something I do for my own personal enrichment. I just feel like the gym it's a really safe space for a lot of young men to let out their frustration, to grow, to build something for themselves, to increase their confidence. I mean, they've even researched that people who go to the gym consistently have a better chance of being successful in business because it's hard to do. It's hard to go to the gym and work out. Your body is sore. So when guys can do that, they're proving they can do other things in life. So I think that
Right.
will be a healthy outlet for a lot of guys.
It's a
For some
whole
of that
lot,
frustration they got.
a lot of discipline behind that world. I was on. I seen one of your videos probably like a month ago,
Okay.
and it had caught my attention where it was like I can't really fully detail it. I think you were talking about the spiritual. It
Okay.
was spiritual. Um, I can't remember what it was, but when my uppers told me I would be interviewing you, I didn't really go research and go look at your page. I know he sent me the link to who you were, but I
Right.
already seen it already, but I still ain't never go back to go look at the page. I had a lot of stuff to do, but it was something about you spiritual. So your spiritual side of you, do you think that's what's guiding you to where you need to be subconsciousness? Like it's just
Oh
taking you to
yeah,
be
absolutely. Yeah, man. The spirit. My belief, man, is everything starts in the spirit realm. That was how I changed to 17. I picked the Bible up. I ain't gonna lie to you. I picked the Bible up, started praying, started fasting. So no, I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for the Most High. There's no doubt in my mind about that. So if it wasn't for that, me being a young black man in America and faced with the odds I was faced with, I literally needed God on my side. That was the way I thought then, and that's the way I think now as a man in my 40s. And so I am um, who I am today because of God, because of a number of people who helped me get that way, and honestly, because of a lot of decisions I made. I had to make the decisions because God is there, but you got to do the work. So a lot of decisions I made, but definitely the spiritual in terms of I teach that all the time on my platform: meditation, prayer, reflection. I believe in that heavy. So I'm definitely
right,
for. I will say this: I'm for spirituality versus religion. I'm not here to push religion because a lot of times religion has judgment and agendas and all type of stuff I'm not with, to be honest with you. But I'm for spirituality, a true connection to God versus some religious organization. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I believe.
right. So far as like in business and going back to that question, um, could you tell me stuff that you actually done into the community to make it a better community?
Absolutely, man. For years, 2000, 2012 to 2015, I ran a drug program in Chicago at a church on the south side, Inglewood. 59th and Low Street. So 59th and Low Street, for those who don't know, that's the hood. That's where Chief Keef, Lil Reese, that's that area. So it's a heavily drug area, streets, crime, all of that. So I ran a drug program there for 3 years on the corner for free. I met there every Friday night from 7 to 9. Um, after that, I worked for a non-for-profit in Chicago, where over the course of 8 years, I probably, no exaggeration, talked to, counseled at least, I don't know. I would have to. It was. Let's see. several hundred, if not a thousand. I would say probably even a good thousand men and women over the course of 8 years that I sat down with and talked to one on one. So what I do now online, it came from a place. It came to back to your original question. What made me want to do this? This is what I've been doing. It's just I'm doing it online now. So I
Right.
started off. Some people they
That,
start off online, which is fine, and then they go to the bricks. Whereas me, I started right on the bricks first. I started on the bricks in the community, talking to people, trying to help them get off drugs, helping people get off drugs, helping people find jobs. Sometimes taking them myself to Safety Foundation. Come on, let's go and help them find a job. Just getting active. So I did that for years, and then after that, it became clear to me, God, he said, he wanted me to be online, and it just took off. So it came from
if,
that place.
if it was like one thing that you could tell somebody to be like you, what would you say? How would you present it?
Um, I mean, for one, I wouldn't want to be like me. I see what you're saying. I would want to be like God more than anything. But I guess what can they do to change their life? You know what I mean? I think, and it's you asked me this question. I thought about this. I think about this question all the time because I always envision myself talking to these young men in real life. What do I say to them? Like you say, because we're right now, this is kind of like practice. What am I going to say when I'm not right there in front of them? And it's a guy, 19, it's a young woman, 20, got kids. What do I say to them? And I think I would challenge people to do a number of things. I would say, one, read a lot, get a knowledge of yourself. I had to learn more to change how I was thinking. Without that knowledge, and it's not like I say, it's not just school. I went to school, but it's deeper than school. It's about real life learning at home. I learned probably more here now at home in my basement than I did in school. Just teaching myself. So I'm big on self education. Malcolm X never went to school. He was a genius. You feel me? Just on self discipline. So I would encourage people, man, to read a lot, to get themselves into physical shape, to do whatever they can to get off of drugs and alcohol. In other words, do whatever you can from your perspective to help you deal with the energy coming your way. In other words, as a young black man, I'm thinking about myself, I can't control all the negative energy coming my way. It's coming. I can't deny it. I can't control that. But what can
Keep
I do
talking.
to control myself? How do I get myself in position mentally, physically, and spiritually? So I would challenge everybody to grow in all three of those areas in your spirit, through meditation, fasting, prayer, etc., in your mind, through knowledge, getting a mentor, taking classes, whatever it may be, and then getting yourself to physical shape. And getting ourselves strong spiritually, physically, in our soul, that prepares you for whatever comes your way, in my opinion. Now you're
Right.
prepared to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to do? You know?
When did you start rapping?
I started rapping, man, at 19 on the block. It was the street stuff. I started at 19, and then I stopped that, and I started studying. I didn't want to rap anymore. And then I started again at 22. And my name was going to be Prince Jabez. That's when I started reading the Bible. So I was going to do like biblical type raps. Prince Jabez, I had one about Yeshua, all type of stuff at 22. And I did that. I went to a few places in Chicago, did some freestyles and whatnot. And then I just stopped rapping for a while. I just stopped and focused on the work I'm talking about, working in the community. I was doing a drug program, working downtown Chicago. And I got so involved with that and having a family, I just stopped doing it. And it wasn't until about 4 or 5 years ago during the pandemic, I started writing again. The desire came back. And I just started writing rhymes like crazy. So
Let
that's
me
where that
ask
came from.
you, if the opportunity was presented, what could we do to work together to get the message out?
What do you mean? In terms?
Anything for how could we work together to get your positivity messages out? To give us
Oh,
some, or like I said, our uppers, they have a big platform. Would you ever come to Baltimore to do talkings, and what could we actually do to try to team up to make some stuff popping?
yeah, I'll be open to that. I'll be open to that. I'm definitely open to. I feel like the most I wants me to travel. That's been in my mind for like a while now. Getting out to different cities. I'm actually, of course, starting in Chicago, but yeah, I'm open to going to different cities and speaking with the youth, having conversations. Starts there. That won't solve everything, but I think that presence and that conversation can plant a seed in their mind at least. And help them there. So yeah, I'm open to doing something like that. If that's there, I'm definitely open to that.
Do you have any economic tips for anybody?
Yeah. Um, I would say, if you're struggling financially, you got to get a job somewhere. It may not be the one you want, but don't, especially a lot about, especially with the, and this is the problem with social media. Let me say this. This is the problem with social media and with different platforms. Sometimes guys feel ashamed to work a job. You got to do what you got to do. I worked in a print shop. I worked at UPS 4 o'clock in the morning, loading boxes, and painting. Do whatever you got to do. If you're a young black man in this, do what you got to do, gang. Don't be ashamed working a job. That doesn't make you a lame to work. You're being a young man, so do whatever it takes. But understand that that job, you will never really get the money you want. So I wouldn't mind. I would tell them to work that job, but be thinking about what you can do that you actually want to in terms of entrepreneurship. What is your purpose? So me working at UPS was never my purpose. It gave me the money I needed to survive. But the whole time I did that, I knew I have a bigger mission in life. So in
Right.
terms of, so start somewhere, and don't stay stuck there. If you don't like that, be thinking of ways to make more money, whether that be a part-time job, entrepreneurship. I mean, there's so many people right now who are doing different things, whether it's selling T-shirts or music, your business. I would say study business, figure out some ways to get something going for yourself. I personally, and honestly, I really believe a lot of us, that's our best bet, is to work somewhere to get started, figure out how can I eventually work for myself, and
Right.
find out what you like to do. Like with me with the talks and with the literature, I like doing this. And so find something you can like doing for 40, 50 hours a week. Start
Right.
somewhere, but outgrow that eventually.
Right. 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 Well, uh, you covered like everything that we really wanted to tag today.
For sure.
If thing like I said, I always go back to that question, especially when I'm talking to people of a pioneer of being positive.
For sure.
If you was looking at you, what would you tell you?
Well, me myself now.
Mhm.
Well, to myself now. Um,
Like if you
what else to myself? Huh?
now I'm flipping it. If
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
was a kid looking at the you now, what would that young kid tell the you now?
Um,
See, you ain't know that was
I
coming.
think that my 19-year-old self would be proud of who I become. Who I was 19, my 19-year-old self would be proud of that. Because I think back even when I was 19 and I saw people doing something positive, I respected it even though I wasn't doing it. So I think my 19-year-old self say, man, respectfully, my nigga,
When then clap it up
you did.
for yourself, clap it up for yourself real quick,
Yeah, yeah,
and
for sure, man.
go
So,
pat yourself on the back, King. Come on,
yeah.
you made it, bro. You made it, and you did a good job, man. Um, we'll talk off the record in a little bit.
For sure.
Um, I just want to shout out everybody. This platform is powered by Baltimore Uncut, and this is Uncut TV. And we have King Jabez
For
that
sure.
was in state in the Black Goo, and we are out. Thank you, King. I really appreciate you. You hear from us in a little bit, okay?
Sounds good, bro. For sure.
Thank you, King.
All right.